Hey guys, welcome to my channel. On today's episode, we're going to talk about knowing your role within your worship team. Alright guys, so let's dive right in. Knowing your role on a worship team is much more than just playing your instrument or singing the song. A number of years ago, I had a rude awakening. I was under the impression that my role on the worship team was just to come in, set up my gear, and start playing. What I didn't realize was all these other aspects that I was missing, which was actually hindering me from hitting my full potential as a worship leader. And of course, when you are starting in a worship team, your main priority and your main focus and goal is to play the right parts and try and impress some people, let's be honest. It definitely was my focus when I first started playing on a worship team. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. It's our human nature to want to impress other people that we've never played with before or sang with before. But now that you've been on your worship team for a little while, now it's time to dig in to really understand what it means to be a worship leader at your local church. So I want to ask a question. Do you know what your role is on your worship team? The truth is that God wants us to worship Him with all that we are and everything we have. Giving God our best goes far beyond what we do at rehearsal. Giving God our best means we lead and we serve others on our worship team as well as our church. And I think that's where the disconnect is. Not too many people know that being a worship leader goes beyond your stage. It goes beyond your platform. It goes beyond your team. Being a worship leader is connecting with your church, is connecting with the community. And that is how you fulfill your full potential on your worship team. And that's how you fulfill your full potential in your particular assigned role. Now again, most people think this responsibility falls on the staff. This responsibility falls on someone else. Well, that's the big misconception, and I believe that we as worship leaders should be the ones to take that baton and run with it as fast as we can and as quickly as we can. We should be willing to grab that baton and run with the idea to serve others. Being a leader in your church doesn't always mean that you get to make these big decisions. Being a leader in your church means that you get to serve, you get the opportunity, you get the privilege to serve on your team, to serve in your church, and to serve the people that are coming to hear about Jesus for the very, very first time. Yeah, it might be super cool that everybody knows your name and that you see your picture on the social media platforms, but what else is there? What goes beyond that exposure? If that's the only thing that you're focused on when playing on your worship team, you may have to take a step back and reevaluate your reasoning behind being on a worship team. If you are an experienced worship leader on your worship team at your local church, it might be a really, really good idea and might be really helpful too to reach out to the other members of your worship team and say, hey, how can I pray for you today? How is your walk with God? Is there something I can do to help keep you accountable? See, because the other thing that I believe is that you can't lead people into a place that you've never been. So you can't encourage your church, hey, let's enter into God's presence, when Monday through Saturday, you haven't had a chance to do that yourself. You would never see a music instructor with their student instructing them on how to play their instrument when they don't know how to play their instrument. The same goes for worship. You can't encourage your church to enter into God's presence and to worship and to lift their hands and to thank God for all that He's done for you and all the things He's blessed you with if you haven't had that realization and you haven't had that moment between you and God. I wanted to invite you to check out our online podcast on Spotify and on iTunes for the full-length episodes of knowing your role within your worship team. That about does it for me. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you next time.